Hey, boys and girls. So, listen, today's Friday, January the 15th, and we do not have school this Monday. And the reason we don't have school is because we are observing the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so, I wanted to start teaching you about him today. We're going to talk about him all next week, also. But today's going to be our first day to talk about it, okay? So, this says, Happy birthday, Martin Luther King. We're going to call him Dr. King, though, when we talk about him. Now, this is a picture, guys, but this is informational text. That means this is real. This is true. This is a true book about a real person named Dr. Martin Luther King. Okay. Okay. All right. So Martin Luther King was born on January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. Boys and girls, that was almost 100 years ago. If Martin Luther King was still alive, he'd be almost 100. And his parents loved him very much. Georgia is a state. Our state is New Jersey. There's another state in the United States called Georgia. Martin Luther King had the same name as his father, except one thing. His father was called Martin Luther King Sr., and Martin was called Martin Luther King Jr. So, boys and girls, it's very common for dads and their sons to have the same name. And if they do, then the dad is the senior and the son is the junior, except for our Claude, because our Claude is the third. That means that his dad is the junior. Okay. Martin went to elementary school. That's what you're going to. School 3 is elementary school, high school, and college in Atlanta, and he was a good student. Later, he went to divinity school in Pennsylvania. There he is studying and being a good student. Martin Luther King was very smart. So Martin became a pastor. That means that you stand at the church and you talk to the people, just like his dad, at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. They were both called Reverend, the Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. and the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Wow, that's a lot to say, isn't it? Martin's job as a minister was to help people in need. He visited sick people in the hospital and he made them feel better. So this lady's in the hospital and he is coming to comfort her and talk with her. So Dr. King asked people to not fight with each other. He said they were a peaceful way to solve problems. So that meant when people didn't get along, he wanted them to talk about it and he wanted them to solve their problem. Martin led people with prayers and songs, just like his father did. So, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. is famous because he helped our country change some of its laws. A law is like a rule. For example, you can't steal things at a store. That's a law. You have to pay for things. That's a law. You can't steal things. So, once there was a law in some places. Now, guys, this is a terrible law, and I don't know if you guys know about this, but it's a terrible, terrible law. It should never have been a law. Anyway, let me start again. Once there was a law in some places that said only white people could sit in the front of the bus and that black people had to sit in the back. Can you believe that that was a rule? A terrible rule. Terrible rule. So let's keep reading about this. Let's see what happened. Martin Luther King said this law needed to be changed. It certainly did. So there was a lady on the bus named Mrs. Rosa Parks. And Mrs. Rosa Parks and other people helped Martin Luther to get the rule changed, to get the law changed. And now all people can sit in any place they like. Now, guys, this book talks just a little bit about Rosa Parks. Here she is, Mrs. Parks. We're going to talk about her more in February because I have a lot to teach you about her. But since today is about Martin Luther King, we're just going to mention her. But I promise we're going to talk all about her in this bus business. All right. There were also laws in some places that said African Americans could only use certain restaurants and drinking fountains. That's terrible. That means that everybody couldn't go everywhere and everybody couldn't drink out of the same water fountains. It's terrible. Martin Luther King and many other people helped change those laws. Now all people can share the same restaurants and drinking fountains. Well, I would certainly hope so because that was a terrible law. But it used to be true, boys and girls. I'm not making this up. This was really true. Okay. Once there was a law in some places that said black children and white children couldn't go to school together. They actually made that law. Isn't that terrible? Martin Luther King and other people, including many very brave children, had this law changed too. And now all the children can go to school together, just like we ought to be doing. Absolutely, everyone needs to go to school together. All of us. Martin Luther King had a special talent for leadership. That meant, guys, that people really listened to him and he was a role model. When he spoke, people listened. Poor people, rich people, white people, black people, and people from all around the world listened when Dr. Martin Luther King spoke. Many helped him work, march, sing, and pray for justice. Justice means that everything is fair for everybody, which isn't always true, guys, but it was what he was fighting for. So then, this is one of the most famous things. Boys and girls, this picture happened in Washington, D.C. This very tall building is the Washington Monument. This is a true, real place in Washington, D.C., and the water is there just below the monument. This is all accurate. And so these are people listening, and this is Martin Luther King. He's up at the podium with a microphone so that he can speak to all the people. In the summer of 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. gave the most famous speech of his life. He gave it outdoors to 250,000 people. That's more people than you could ever imagine. They all came to Washington, D.C. to ask the president for jobs and freedom for black people. In his speech, Martin Luther King said that he had a dream. His dream was that people everywhere would learn to live together without being mean to one another, and that all children could go to school together. That was another part of his dream. Boys and girls, there was a lot of people that didn't like Martin Luther King. There were a lot of people that loved him, and he was a wonderful man, and his message was wonderful. There were some people that didn't like his message. They didn't want the world to change, and they wanted the white people to be in charge, which is a terrible thing. So some people didn't like him, and they weren't happy with him at all. And Martin Luther King, boys and girls, he died. He's not alive anymore. But the good thing is he caused a lot of changes. So he caused a lot of changes, boys and girls. And because of all the speaking that he did and all the traveling he did all over the United States, he caused the rules to change for the buses. He caused the laws to change for schools so that all the children could go together, and a bunch of other things. And he went all around the country, boys and girls, and he talked to people all the time. So I'm hoping that you'll ask your parents about this and talk to your parents some more about this, because he was a really, really important person. And that's why we have no school on Monday, so that we can take the day just to celebrate how wonderful Dr. Martin Luther King was. He wanted people to be able to go places together and share food together and love one another in peace. He believed in peace. He did not believe in fighting. Because he worked so hard for freedom and helped so many people gain it, we honor him every year on this special day, his birthday. Now, today is actually the 15th, so today's actually his birthday, but the way our calendar works, they always celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday on Monday. So even though today's his birthday, we're going to be celebrating it on Monday. So we call this day Martin Luther King Day. and we say to him, Happy birthday, Martin Luther King. So, boys and girls, this is just teaching you a little bit about it. Next week, we're going to do some more because I think it's really, really important. And I know you're going to talk to your grown-ups about it. Okay, so now, guys, in the morning, we're going to start singing a song called about Dr. Martin Luther King, but I'm going to teach it to you right now. Are you ready? Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream. Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream. Dr. Martin Luther King had a dream. He had the whole world in his dream. He had me and you. In his dream, he had me and you. In his dream, he had me and you. In his dream, he had the whole world in his dream. So we're going to be singing that in the morning. I hope you're going to be singing it with me. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to write a sentence about Dr. Martin Luther King. Hey kids. All right. So you just learned a little tiny bit about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We're going to call him Dr. King for this sentence, okay? And I told you that he had a big speech called his I Had a Dream speech, and I also just sang the I Had a Dream song. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. So first I'm going to try, guys. I'm not going to be really good at drawing Dr. King, but I'm going to try my best. I'm not real good at people, guys. It's not my best skill. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. There's his hand. Let's see. All right. So there he is. That's him. He's standing up and talking to the people right now. Told you guys I'm not real good at people. Here's wearing his robe, so I'm gonna give him his robe. Okay. All right, boys and girls. So what I'm gonna do, and like I said, I'm not great at people, and if you're not, don't worry about it. That's part of the garden is just practicing. All right, and grown-ups, by all means, delve into the topic. As you can see, I do it slowly and carefully. But of course, I would love for you to do more, and I encourage that. And of course, that's your choice how far you want to go with this. You can see the introduction that we had today. All right, so we're going to do Dr. King had a dream. So doctor, guys, today, that's right. But doctor is an abbreviation. That means there's a really short way to do it, and it looks like this. DR period. Doctor. Okay. So king, like K. That's right. K. Now king is an ing word. Remember ing, ing? So it's ing. ING. Dr. King. Okay. Had. Add. Add. Dr. King had to make his face. Add. Dr. King had a dream. Dream's tricky. It's dream. Dream. So start with d. R. E. Hear that E? It's EA. Can you believe it? Dream. M. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King had a dream. Super job, boys and girls. If you're still copying, just go ahead and hit pause. All right, kids, so next week in your materials that we sent home for second marking period, you guys have two little booklets about Dr. King. So we're going to get them out next week, and we're going to look at them at story time. All right. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Great job.